Hi, I'm Katie Heck with the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office Community Affairs Unit. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with our cold case unit after the successful prosecution of the Pilar Rodriguez murder. Here is a portion of that interview. Gentlemen, thank you for sitting down with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wanted to talk a little bit about the successful closure of the Pilar Rodriguez case, but first kind of find out who you are and then also what brought you to cold case investigations.
I'm Mike Vogel. I'm a detective with the cold case unit. Been with the unit since 2009 when it was formed by the prior sheriff, Bill Cameron, and Mike Gandy, my partner, and we continue today with the cold case unit. I came from the federal government before I retired for about 6 years prior to starting work here at the cold case unit. I was with several agencies, NCIS, Immigration and Naturalization Service, and the Postal Service Office of Inspector General.
My name is Kurt Mayo. I am a cold case detective for the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office. I also came here in February of 2009 when they formed this unit. All of us old retired guys. My previous experience was I was a police officer in the state of New Jersey near the Jersey Shore for just about 27 years, and 22 of those years involved in investigations. Retired to Punta Gorda and lasted a little bit, approximately a year, and somehow got myself back into this.
I'm Mike Gandy. I retired from the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office in '06, came back in '09 to form the cold case unit, which I'm a detective in now and part of, and I work with these other two guys right here, solving cold cases.
The trial for the death of Pilar Rodriguez has recently come to a close, successfully with the conviction of Keith Wilson for her murder. What were some of the challenges that you guys faced in this investigation?
There were several challenges, just like in any other cold case. The time that has gone by, relocating witnesses, verifying initial statements that witnesses gave, trying to find new witnesses. It's just everything you do in a cold case takes you 10 times as long as it does in a current case, because that much time has gone by.
Can you speak a little bit more to how time can help and then also maybe hurt an investigation?
Sure, absolutely. One of the problems with some of these cases with the amount of time that's gone by is you have a tendency to lose witnesses, or in this particular case, some of the officers that actually worked on the case. One of the things that did not come out at the trial that we lost as a result of time was back in 1999, when this incident was first being investigated, there was a police cadaver dog which was used in the investigation of this case. The dog actually gave a positive indication for cadaver smell on the rug and the carpet area near the entrance to the bathroom in the apartment where Wilson and Melissa Harding Jones, Cooper at the time, and Pilar was, exactly where we found blood that belonged to Pilar Rodriguez. And the dog also gave a positive indication on the trunk of Keith Wilson's car. Unfortunately, between the time that Keith Wilson was arrested and charged and the time we actually got to trial, the dog handler passed away. So that's one of the things that can hurt you. One of the things that helped in this particular case, where time actually helped us, was at the time Melissa Cooper, now Melissa Harding Jones, was a young female with her first boyfriend, involved in an abusive type of relationship. And so when she was interviewed initially, she initially denied that this case, that she basically said the baby disappeared, and she panicked. Of course, the police then saw through that fairly rapidly, and her second story was basically that Pilar was killed and that Keith Wilson was responsible, but she minimized, because she was still in love with Keith Wilson, and she minimized some of the details surrounding the actual death. and that was in 1999. That took place all within a month or two of when this case first came to the Sheriff's Department's attention. I had an opportunity to interview her in 2009, 10 years later, in Washington State where she lived. She was married to an engineer. She had 2 children of her own house, her own vehicle, and she was a lot more mature in life, her life experiences. And so when we showed up at her door, some of the details that she had told the officers in 1999, she had, I wouldn't say changed, but added to from a much different perspective on life in general. And that helped make the case. So again, time can solve some problems, and it can also be a problem for us.
Now, with the conviction, do you still feel like you have unfinished business in Pilar Rodriguez's case?
Yes. Obviously, the criminal portion of this case has been completed. We're waiting the sentencing of both Melissa Cooper, Harding Jones, and Keith Wilson. So that has yet to be done. But we have not yet recovered the remains of Pilar Rodriguez. And obviously that's unfinished business that we want to put to bed. We would like to recover her remains for her father and her family.
Looking ahead to your next investigations, the ones that you kind of have coming up, what are you focused on currently as far as cases go?
We have actually 2 that we're steadily focused on. We from time to time, we'll get leads or tips that come in on many of the cases that we have, and we'll follow those leads up as they come in. If they're significant, we'll stay with them until they're completed. We'll stay with any of them until they're completed. But recently, we have gone back to 2 cases. That's the case of Sharon Marie Gill. Sharon was murdered in 1990 in her home in Deep Creek. She was 42 years old. She was stabbed to death in her home. She had just moved into the home a few months prior in late '89 with her daughter and her husband, Percy. Her husband was a pastor in Detroit. Percy was completing some work with that church and was going to be retiring here, and he was gone in Michigan the day of this crime. This happened at like 10:20 in the morning on a busy street in Deep Creek. People that are familiar with that area know that's a strange place for something like that to be happening. The other case we're focused on is the death of Victoria Arena. Vicki was killed in 2001, in June of 2001, and her body was dumped in a wooded area off Vermont Road in Charlotte County. This particular area was a favorite hunting spot for some people that Vicki actually associated with. So that automatically makes them suspect. We know that she was with her current boyfriend at the time, on again, off again boyfriend at the time, Curtis Webb, that day, the day she was last seen. And she was also in the company of a friend of hers, female friend, and the female's husband that day. So we have, in this particular case with Vicki, we interviewed her, they interviewed numerous people back during that time, and we've been able to establish that some of them were not completely truthful. And that's what we're hoping to do with that case, is re-interview those folks, get them to tell us the truth on their own, now that so much time has elapsed, and hopefully we can come to a conclusion with that case. We did, I can't say which one of those 2 cases, but there has been a recent, what we call a significant development in that case, and I can't go further into detail what that development was or which case it was at this time. So that's where we're focused right now.
Okay. And then you did mention that you'll always take a tip on any case if somebody is willing to bring one to your attention.
Absolutely. Myself and one of the other guys here will be following up on such a tip tomorrow morning. Okay. On one of the other cases. So.
Excellent. Do you have a message for the criminals that are involved in these cases? I mean, we have unsolved crimes in the county, and you guys are here and you're focused on solving them. What's your message to criminals or even witnesses or suspects that are involved in those cases?
Sure. I think what we want people to realize is that we are still here. The cases are still active. They're not going to go away. Just because you were interviewed in the past doesn't mean that we're not going to be coming and knocking on your door again for additional interviews. If you're a suspect, then we're hoping at some point we'll be coming and knocking on your door too with an arrest warrant, so that we can put the cases to bed and have the individuals involved arrested and prosecuted and bring some closure to the families. So we're coming.
We have found in the past, from both the Tara Sidarovich case prosecution and the Pilar Rodriguez case, that there has been people who have had information regarding these cases that for whatever reason was not passed on to the police. Mm-hmm. For example, some of the people who we ultimately found had information that they either didn't realize was important or that they thought we already had from another source, or on occasion people who have not been completely forthcoming with the investigators when they were interviewed. These cases that we're looking at now, we suspect the same thing. And we suspect that there's people who know where Pilar Rodriguez's body is. We suspect that there are people out there that may have information on the Sharon Gill case or the Vicky Arena case or any of the other cases that we have here in Charlotte County. Mm-hmm. And we also know that there are people that have been interviewed in the past, such as in the Tara Sidarovich case, where an individual was interviewed in the past and wasn't completely truthful. When we went back to them, they again continued not to be completely truthful, and resulted in them being charged with perjury and pleading guilty and then providing information that they probably should have provided to us in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So there are people out there. We expect that we could, if we know who they are, or if they come forward to us and provide us the information, no matter how they may think how important it is, that's obviously something that will help us in our endeavors.
Right.
And that's part of we were talking earlier about the time and the things that change over time. Relationships that people have with potential suspects that they had back in 2001, let's say, may have been boyfriend, girlfriend. Now they aren't in touch with each other at all. They may have had a falling out or whatever. People grow up, people change, their attitudes about law enforcement may change. So the time, in that way, time is good for us because we have the ability to go back to people and talk to them in a different light. People come forward over time, like in the Pilar case, where we had Keith Wilson's step-cousin come forward after a number of years with information that was obviously extremely helpful in the case about seeing Pilar's body in the trunk of Keith's car. So in that way, time is good for us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for sitting down with me and for all the hard work you're doing, on behalf of all the families of these cases. I think everyone takes comfort in knowing that their cases aren't being forgotten because there's people like you that are out there working hard to solve them.